HPP Innovation Week 2022 is a virtual event on high-pressure processing technology, organized by Hyperbaric, the global leader and manufacturer of HPP equipment.
So what does shelf life extension with HPP look like? Well, luckily for the juice and beverage category, it's one of the most effective technologies and tools to use. You can extend the shelf life up to 30x. So if you take, for example, a raw cold pressed juice that has a shelf life of 3 to 5 days, you're able to extend that up to 90, 120 plus days while still preserving the fresh characteristics of the product.
And then my last product is Island Time. That is a hibiscus tropical flavor tea. It has pineapple juice. Anthony touched on pineapple juice being high in bromelain. Bromelain is a very powerful anti-inflammatory that's plant-based and naturally occurring. Lime juice along with lemon juice, very high in vitamin C. Ginger for digestion. Orange peel for digestion. And we have some other natural spices in there to create a really bold flavor profile. But again, I did not want to compromise that flavor profile with chemical stabilizers. And that's, again, one of the reasons why the HPP technology is super important.
So I think it's important to note for all those that are watching, when also I am asked, how do you know if you've achieved the success of the 25 milligrams of CBD or that probiotic serving of, in your juice? How do you know that it's still there after it's been under the high pressure? So we have, in fact, it was wonderful. We were doing business and collaborating with two different companies that are under one roof, Ambassador and Source, and Felipe from Source, who we sourced the water soluble CBD from, sent us to a lab. And it was wonderful. We sent all our products there. And through that, we received COA. The COA was wonderful. I had my fingers crossed, wasn't certain. There was no one to reach out to. No one could give us the answer. So the lab came back. The results were successful. The CBD was there. The probiotic was there. And I think, that's another really important, notation, I think, for all business. And Herman probably will agree that, making sure you're just crossing T's and dotting I's and that you're using all your resources, to be transparent about your product.
On the right of the screen, we have the use HACCP from the FDA that validates that Listeria can achieve a 5-log reduction. So these are the recommendations from the United States. Later, we have the
HPP tolling is just providing the service to others, meaning the third parties. Hyperbaric has an extensive network of clients that offer the high pressure processing service to other food companies, generally known as HPP tolling. This business model allows a company to provide services and give access to HPP technology to companies of any size prior to the investment or the acquisition of their own HPP.
Yourself at home to see how color changes, if there are any odors or smells that come up during the shelf life that may give you an idea of the shelf life. Again, plenty of samples that will allow you to the 90 days, which was somewhat like a good target for plenty of foods in the HPP industry. Another good practice is to go even beyond in case that you have an absent-minded consumer that forgets about a product in the fridge that still has it after the best by dates. Well, in this case, if you have 90 days, a 25% or 50% will be a 135-day sample. Over here, just some of the, once you have done this at home, perhaps you are safe or confident enough to send this into the lab to monitor some very generic microbial quality indicators. Again, it can give you a very good idea of how pathogens will behave in a shelf life study, and again, some indicators for you to have when performing these shelf life studies.
So under our portfolio of plant-based products, as I mentioned, we do guacamole. We also have salad dressings. But what we are really accelerating forward with is our plant-based dips. Not just because it's what the company wants to strive at, but just the industry is demanding it. As you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation, the growth of plant-based is tremendous. And one of the other components that I really appreciated about you mentioning your presentation is just the importance of the ingredient contents that are going into these plant-based, because yes, you can have the unhealthy version of a plant-based product. If you make an Oreo gluten-free, it doesn't necessarily make it better for you just because it's gluten-free. So we've taken that approach with all of our products.
Now, many of the consumers have the question about, even many of the brands have the question about, how do the probiotics survive with the HPP process? So there are different kind of probiotics, and the probiotics which are usually used for the fermentation purposes usually have the simple vegetative cell in the front of them, which actually they are basically vegetative based probiotics. So there is an inner cell and also the cell wall, which may get destroyed by the HPP process. But there is also a new term which is called postbiotics, which many of us are not aware of, which is when the probiotics are also not alive, they are equally beneficial for us. Now, in terms of coming back to probiotics, but there are also other probiotics available, which are spore-forming probiotics. So they are actually prevented by the natural spore coat outside, which is survived even after the HPP process. One of the probiotic company which provides that, it's called Kerry, and this is a BC30 probiotics, which can be used. So we have tried those
based on our
probiotics and they
results,
work
we
really
were
well.
very proud to conclude that the HPP conditions that are currently used by the juice industry, which are 600 megapascals for 3 minutes, those are the typically used conditions in the food industry. Those are good enough to meet the performance standard of the juice HACCP rule for control of these 3 vegetative pathogens of concern. But using only acid and acidified juices and beverages with a pH below 4.5 and with physical chemical characteristics similar to the ones that we reported in our research. So we hope that our results from this study can be used by food processors and also by process authorities and regulatory agencies to support validation studies. We really hope that this information might be useful for the future establishment of safe harbors for the HPP industry. And with that, we may decrease the cost associated with the execution of safety microbial validations for each product that is going to be launched to the market.
In terms of our USPs at Daily Dose, the main one is that we produce in-house and in HPP in-house. So most juice companies in Europe and especially in the UK don't manufacture. They outsource their production to third parties. So for us, working with suppliers and sourcing produce was really, really important to help us fight the food waste epidemic. As I mentioned, the organic waste is turned into biofuel. And one of our major USPs is quality and taste, and HPP is part of that in terms of providing quality and maintaining the taste.
I'm going to talk about some WAC facts. So the first quarter of 2020, processed avocado imports increased 10.6%, and it went from 61.8 million pounds in 2019 to 68.5 million, achieving an all-time high. Global guacamole market, it is estimated to be worth about 1.1 billion with a compound annual growth rate of 7.6 by 2027. And there are over 7 70 HPP units used in the industry to make avocado-based product. This is roughly around 16,000 liters in capacity and over 70% of the total use in the industry of high pressure. One of the other interesting facts is that guacamole is the leading cause for double dipping. Yes, don't do it.
Juices are a good example because they have a low pH and a high water activity.
Processing these are very easy. We put them into the machine and simply press as here. The loading then takes place. Once the product has been processed, it can be easily unloaded and compared with the original product. As such, for rheological analysis and things like that, we can help you right here in the incubator. And for microbiological analysis, we have contacts to help you make the best of the trials that we've done together.
And this is the step that we have between product development and commercialization. So in between, there is this whole validation that needs to be done. And we can divide this process in 3 different stages. For instance, sensory validation for shelf life. It's very important to understand the color stability, texture changes, and aroma, flavor, and so on. After that, we can go for the microbial shelf life validation, just to understand the populations that characterize a food after HPP. And finally, maybe the most important one, the food safety validation, just to understand how HPP can control pathogens in our product.
In order, our contribution to SDG, Hyperbaric contributes directly to the following sustainable development goals. Number 3, good health and well-being. Thanks to HPP technology, we provide safe foods with a longer shelf life and intact organoleptic properties. We help maintain a healthy diet.
HPP reduces energy and water requirements. The use of HPP technology can lead to substantial water and energy savings when compared to other food processing technology, having a lesser impact on the environment. Regarding energy, it has been shown that HPP requires less energy per kilogram of food than conventional thermal processes. In fact, a study from 2020 compared the impact of processing orange juice with HPP and thermal pasteurization. The authors concluded that HPP is, on average, less environmentally impactful than thermal pasteurization, resulting in fewer carbon emissions. If we talk about water consumption, it's important to remark that around 85% of the water is recirculated into the main tank of the machine and then reuse it in the next cycle.
That's the concept of what we do. And where HPP is very important for us is that without HPP, those produce are dying in 3 days, right? If we make this juice, the juice has only 3 days shelf life, and then it ferments, it oxidizes, and it's not good anymore. And the HPP brought us the technology to keep those juice very tasty, the same taste than if it was made at home, not HPP, and adding no preservatives, adding no water, adding no pasteurization either. We don't pasteurize, we don't eat the product. In this way, we actually don't alter the taste or alter its integrity in terms of nutrient content. And we just put it in the HPP machine, and suddenly it has 80 to 100 day shelf life, even 120 for certain juice with a different pH, making sustainability
and
possible.
To show the impact of the work that we're doing. So one of the first projects we did was come together to create a certification standard for Upcycled Certified. And in May of 2021, we actually launched our certification program in the United States. Since then, we have expanded to Canada as well. And since launching the program, we have certified over 200 products and ingredients. And at this stage, the collective impact of all these products and ingredients that have been certified is the equivalent of about 820 million pounds of food waste being prevented. And this number is growing every day as we see more and more companies leaning into
plant-based is definitely our focus. Again, Good Foods has always been a company that wants to make products as if you were making them in your kitchen, right? Using kitchen ingredients, names you can pronounce, not a laundry list of chemicals and fillers. And so, it just kind of seems that plant-based, how we're in this massive trend of plant-based, is a perfect synergy for Good Foods. We've really embraced it and taken it to as authentic as we can and really include vegetable forward components as our ingredients. So for us, plant-based isn't just substituting the animal component for some other type of starch or filler or binder or something like that. We really want to be vegetable or produce forward with our products.
Start with a very brief introduction regarding packaging. Packaging is a key factor for the development process of any HPP product. It is very critical, but it is also very simple to have the right packaging for any application. This aspect is very important for two main reasons. It gives functionality to your products. For instance, shelf life is increased thanks to packaging. And also, if you find the right barrier properties, you can also extend shelf life for even more time. It also protects the products, preventing damage and contaminations from the environment. And it is also a very important attribute for marketing because you can create very attractive designs that catch people's attention.